welcome Over the Top Podcast. This your boy Big HD. Along with me tonight, I do have RJ. How you doing there, brother?
I'm doing excellent.
Good. We also have the Playmaker G in the house. Where you at, G? How you doing?
We're doing well, thank you. How you, sir? I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing incredible. And we have Q with us today. Q, what's going on, buddy?
Ain't nothing going on except life.
Hey, man, living life, definitely. Toya couldn't be with us tonight, but we still will go on. Again, Over the Top Podcast is just our thoughts and views of society, different issues that really affect our community. As always, all our information on Over the Top Podcast will be seen on our Over the Top Podcast Facebook page. Please go there. The YouTube page will be uploaded a little bit later this week, actually at the end of the weekend. So we got a lot of stuff going on. But we'll get started. It is Black History Month. And I don't know if you guys can see my shirt. So we are going to start. We got a brother, one historian, Garrett Morgan. Just celebrate him a little bit. He's the inventor of the gas mask and the stoplight. So this is a little known Black history fact as we go into Black History Month. Also, as we look at the Black history, I feel like it'd be a great time for us to actually evaluate the status of where we begin, where we at now, and kind of where we're going. But I'm gonna start with this clip, and I'm probably taking running for me of Dr. King and what he said in 1961.
Somewhere we must discover the world over that we must learn to live together as brothers, or we will all perish together as fools. Somewhere.
Powerful text. That we must live together as brothers, or we will perish away as fools. I'm coming here early. G, do you think Martin's idea during that time of our process, do you think he hit the nail on the head? He's speaking for everybody, or what? You think it was a small minority he was speaking with?
I think he was speaking to the masses. I think when you look at where we are now versus what was going on back then, I think there's been some progress, but I was struggling with this question because I was thinking back, how would I answer this? If I look at the movements we had in corporate America, and you see that people are advancing in corporate America, you think one way. But when I actually went back and listened to the whole speech in its entirety, there were some lines that jumped out to me that made me change the way that I would answer the question. And one of those lines was, we can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of unspeakable horrors of police brutality. And as we see, that is still going on today, after all this time when he initially made that speech. So there has been a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of areas that we're still facing those same struggles and issues today. And then one of the things that when I was analyzing the speech and thinking back, and we talked about this in previous podcasts, is that the sense of community back then is a lot different than it is now. When we were talking about equality back then, it was more of all of us against the world. Now we have a situation, it's not just all of us against the world, it is some of us against ourselves. So I think in that area, we've actually went back in the wrong direction from when he was making that speech. So it's, when you look at it from the complete picture, it's very easy to say that we have made some progress because we have, people with nice jobs, nice cars, living in nice communities, but we have so many of the population that is still struggling. And at any time, any of those people from the higher end or the lower end can be victim of police brutality. So I think that we still got a long way to go. And I think that we've lost some of that motivation that we had from back in the 60s and 70s because people have become complacent. So to answer your question, I think there has been some progress. I think we've actually taken some steps back, and I still think that we have a long way to go to actually get to his dream.
Okay, well, LJ, I'm coming with you with this question because while G was speaking, and he mentioned the 60s and the 70s, and 60s and 70s, I think that's when the black family was pretty much solid and intact. So he was right on hit around the head on that. But then remember the 80s. We got the 80s with the war on drugs, which pretty much destroyed our community. The crack epidemic in the 80s, the AIDS epidemic, the late 80s going into the early 90s. And then we got into the 90s, and then we talking about the 3 strike rule, the mass incarceration. Well, I'm gonna ask you this, and I know it kind of getting you off guard with this, but kind of paint a picture of what happened to our families during that time period.
The initiation of the 3 strikes and you out rule, along with mass incarceration and the changing of how the crack cocaine laws were dealt with, created a boom in the marketplace, so to speak, for imprisonment. Me and Hank had this conversation the other day. There's also another component to this: hip hop music. I heard Big Gibb say the music has a spell in it. So when you put the music along with aspects of mass incarceration and there's no leadership in the community, a lot of those OGs were in jail. And so a lot of that stuff and the behavior that are a part of the communities that were in check or checked, like if you look at a larger community, you take a Larry Hoover and a Jeff Ford out of the community, what you do is you leave a power vacuum. And when you look at the city of Chicago is wholly out of control. And it's 2 major gangs that really create that larger dynamic in that problem. So when you look at mass incarceration is fueled by drugs. It's fueled by the removal of OGs or old heads out of the community. And those OGs and those old heads in the various communities generally kept the violence down and kept things in check. So that removal is really interesting. And we had a similar situation in Washington, D.C. Cornell the Ghost, they did a American Gangster on him, as well as Rayful Edmond. And Cornell was a predecessor to Rayful Edmond. I think a lot of us would know Rayful. And aspects of the things that happened with Rayful in the city of Washington, D.C. and the explosion in D.C. was a direct result of some of those things, that checks and balances that were removed when the older guard went to prison.
Q, I'm gonna come with you on this because I know you're a hip hop savant. You love your hip hop music and your battle rap. Do you think there is a certain spell in the rap game or in rap music that's kind of triggering younger kids to act aggressively or act in a negative way?
Not more than they did in the past. I mean, a lot of the kids who listen to rap music now are also a product of parents listening to rap music back then, and not just rap, R&B, and other stuff back then. So not only do they may be listening to the more modern rap stuff now, but growing up, if their parents were playing music in the car or music during a Sunday when it's time to clean, that's what they were listening to too. So it's not just modern rap music. I would say it's rap music as a whole, but I also say no, because if a kid is all kids can be prone to anger and violence, and not just by listening to rap music. There's a lot of kids who may listen to country, may listen to some alternative, listen to rock music. All those music, all those type of genres have a certain have certain there's a word I'm looking for, have certain stuff to that genre that can trigger something, not just rap music. Rap music just gets a bad stigma because you know why.
Yeah, well, when we listen to, you about to say something, RJ? No. All right.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna put this out here. When I think about rap music now, we are on the front end of what you call gangster rap. And gangster rap came into being because there was a thought process by Dr. Dre, Jimmy Iovine, but some of these record executives got together with some of these guys who were clean-cut guys. One of the lines that Ice Cube said as a college student, one of the most famous lines for me is, "Motherfucker, I slaughter, blow you out the water. Word to me, fuck the father." He ain't never put that work in. He's about writing stories, right? So you hear him say that, but is this is the same guy that wrote the movie Are We There Yet?
Right.
It's the same guy.
Right.
So in an inability for them to identify that this is entertainment, and the unwillingness to acknowledge that aspect of things, but then also those guys investing in private prisons with the focus of filling those prisons with the people that would be caught up in this. One of my friends has this statement. He said some people just don't have to listen to it. Don't listen to it. It may not affect you. But on a high level, music has a frequency. Everybody talked about Kanye being a fool, but Kanye basically told people, when you put the 808 and you play it in the music, what it does is it locks into your mind and self-conscious, and it propels you forward, and you do things based upon the music that you're hearing. So we tend to kind of like dismiss it, but I would honestly say, consciously, R&B, rap, all those things have a profound effect on our community.
Well, I do believe what you put in will come out. I can see it from both angles. I can see it from Q side, where you're saying, it depends on how you take rap music. I know in our house we listen to rap music. There's a lot of music, but we don't take it literally. But I know a lot of people find themselves in that fantasy world, even growing up. But like you say, getting back. We're not getting too far off the way from the reservation. Even going through the years, the 80s and the 90s with the rap music, with the gangster rap. But we had conscious rap, conscious music. I think that came up conscious. But even in the early 2012s, ladies and gentlemen, we were still in the fight. Ron, can you put up that the reel from Minister Farrakhan in 2012 and see what was going on with us then. You with me?
I'm here.
Yeah, can you put up the reel for 2012 with the minister and see where was that at that point?
That a black man, I voted for him. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was out there with my wife voting.
Can you hear it?
Very low. Can you turn the volume on it?
It's as high as it's gonna go.
Okay.
Sits in the White House.
Okay, still can't hear it at all. Basically, doing that particular speech in 2012, the Minister Farrakhan was speaking about President Barack Obama, and say that he respect everything he's doing, but he still feel like they haven't scratched the surface of what we need as a people. He said the agenda in 2012 was jobs and justice. And we've been banging that sounds of jobs and justice for years as a black community, which in the clip, Louis Farrakhan posed the question, how long are we gonna wait for somebody else to give us something or to do something for us that we can do for ourselves? So that was the main quote that I wanted to get out of that. I'm coming to you with that one, Playmaker. How do you feel about that quote? Is that quote too militant, or is that quote too, what is your thoughts with the minister with that particular quote?
I don't think it's too militant. I think when you really analyze the quote and you analyze all the other groups in America, you see that all of them have kind of done that. They've built up their own networks within America, and we, since we've been here for longer than some of these other minority groups, you would think that we would be in pace with some of these other ethnic groups as how they're building wealth within their community and keeping money within their community, and we're a little bit behind in those areas. If you look at some of the Asian communities, if you look at even some of the African communities, how they keep all of their money within their community, the dollar circulates in the Black community for the least amount of time compared to any other ethnic group. So I would agree with that statement. We do need to kind of expand our own networks and build and pour into our own communities and build those up.
Okay, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that, different programs, we still need different programs or different things out there? Or do you think you in a position at your age as being a millennial, being able to do stuff for yourself? What are your thoughts?
People around my age are fortunately trying to do stuff independently, be independent, do stuff independently to a detriment. I saw a tweet earlier today. A woman tweeted, if you should not be 20 years old still asking your parents for money. There are a lot of comments under it talking about what happened to it takes a village to raise a child and things like that. Like, 20 years, if you're 20, you're either a sophomore or junior in college. You're not going to have the money like that. So how people in my generation are basically going away from asking their parents for stuff. I don't know if it's social media thinking everyone needs to be independent and self-made by the time they reach a certain age, or some parents just weren't there for them, so they don't know the structure as to how to ask. I have structure as to getting help from their parents or just parent if they're in a single parent household. I wouldn't know. I grew up in a 2, sometimes 3 parent household. There's always someone there if I needed something. So I can't read minds as to how everyone else sees the world. But yeah, from what I've seen, people are going away from asking for help and trying to do everything on their own, which is not going to bode well for anybody in the future. You need help to prosper. No one's ever done anything alone.
What do you thought RJ, I'm coming to you. What do you think the mental I know you probably, I know none of us can get into the minds of Minister Farrakhan, but what do you think with those words, with this clip? What do you think his mental space was at this time? What do you think he was actually really trying to nail down or get us to understand?
Gary had a statement. You can go ahead, Gary, if you want to make a statement.
I just wanted to comment on what Q was saying, because I do think that there's some differences within different communities. When I listen to some of my Asian friends, some of them are in their 30s or 40s, still at home. And while they're at home, they're building up and they're working full-time jobs, great jobs, 6-figure jobs, living at home, just stacking up money, saving and investing. So when they are ready to start their families, they have a nice little nest egg to kind of get started. And also some of other people that I've worked with, their families have left trust and all kind of investments. So when they come out of college or when they start the real world, they already have, thousands or even some cases millions of dollars to kind of, fall back on if they ever need that that extra support. Some even have houses, property, and so on. A lot of times you hear in our community is that he's 18, he needs to go out and be a man and kind of figure his way out, and he's not giving the opportunity to stack like some of my Asian friends, or even have some of those investments or property handed down to him from grandparents and uncles and all that. So he has an advantage to even start. So I think that what Q said was right on point. But I do think it is different for different pockets of our community.
Go ahead, RJ.
The transition into adulthood is different in each culture. Our culture in and of itself in America has been a little different. I know in the traditional ways of Africa, there was manhood training. And at a certain time, they took you away from your parents and you went out and you sat down with men and they taught you aspects of things that you needed to know. And then they transitioned you back into the community and there was a rite of passage. There are not a lot of rites of passage in our community. Actually, because people are tribal, that's one of the reasons why gangs work so well in our communities, because kids gravitate towards being a part of a collective. Now, we have to learn how to effectively put collectives in place, but those collectives have to be positive, moving forward to make sure that we're gaining positive energy to achieve our goals. Ultimately, I believe Farrakhan was right. I believe we should do for ourselves. I do believe, based upon the understanding and the awareness, we have to understand and assess where our children are. And as we understand and assess where our children are, we give them the leeway to go out into the world and succeed and even fail if need be, and return back home. But as Gary said, the foundation, if we can set up some trust, or if we can put some things in place, at least have life insurance if we pass away. All those things are key components of really helping transition and move forward well.
Definitely. Those are the things up to then. We have one more. I do want to, as we continue to grow and move in this country, as Black history begins, and as we become more conscious of what we're doing and become more prosperous, because I think this time we are becoming more prosperous, but at the same time, we still got a lot of work, a lot of things that we do have to take care of. And one thing is healing. One thing is healing, and hearing our voice. And I think this last clip, and I don't, and then I hope it played. It was actually after the death of George Floyd in 2019. Am I right? What was it? 19?
2020.
2020.
Early 2020. Right after the pandemic started.
Yeah, I can't see the year, but I remember this clip.
It was about 2020, but I do want to, because and I like this clip because it actually gives us the opportunity to share our frustrations, and this young lady hit it right on the head. Play that clip for us, Ron, if we can hope it comes through. Play it for us.
Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract that we all have, that if you steal or if I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and they fix the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. So the social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the fuck do I give a shit about burning the fucking Football Hall of Fame, about burning a fucking Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and didn't give a fuck. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game and built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again on our own, by our bootstraps in Tulsa, and you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood and you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract, so fuck your Target. Fuck your Hall of Fame. I'm concerned they could burn this bitch to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what Black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
when you listen to that clip and you hear the passion in you, I think all of us, I mean, you may not agree with the wordings you use and the cursing and swearing and all that good stuff, but the power or the truth that's behind that, I think that still cries out today. I think we have made changes, but we gotta, it's a two-way street. We gotta do stuff for ourselves. We can't wait for others to do a thing for us. But we also need others to understand and to recognize that, recognize what you're doing. Acknowledge what you're doing, so we can move past it and move on. But that's my little point on it. Anybody else have anything you want to? No, we're gonna do something positive. We're gonna go around, and I'm gonna start with you, RJ. What can we do as a people that make a positive change or a positive movement towards the positive area? Give us a couple of minutes to share it. Just go around the round table with that.
Be solution based. Look at options. All joints should be supplied. Meaning, like, we have to be more focused in doing things that are collective. And what does that mean? If you're a farmer, okay, be a part of this collective and be a farmer. And then if you're an electrician, okay, be a part of this collective and do some electrician work. If you're an HVAC worker, be a part of a collective and you be an HVAC worker inside your community. One of the most beautiful things that a young lady told me, she was older than me, she's really seasoned. She said our communities were the backbones for everything that we did. So part of her saying that our communities were the backbones for everything that we did, you had doctors, you had lawyers, you had everything in those communities. And that collective is not the same as what it was. So if we can get some more of those communities, or we can get people that choose to invest in one another, I think we can have a better, more functional community overall.
Yeah, what's something positive you can leave for the young or the old in our community for the going forward?
First, by not co-signing what she said in the clip, because saying everybody's looking that Black people are not violent. We are still the minority. That would not bode well for us in the long run. We probably go extinct before we find an answer to that. Doing that, I'll say just teaching the next generation to love and not hate. So it's as simple as that. You have to love each other, no matter race, no matter gender, no matter who they like or what they like. Love thy neighbor. That's how you start. The biggest enemy to hate is love. So you gotta love before you gotta love. So love trumps hate.
You got the last word, playmaker. Oh, excuse me, G.
I'm gonna go with pouring back into our communities, similar to what Ron was saying, being a collective, but I think also our older generation taking the time to pour into our younger generation. I think we kind of missed that mentorship or apprenticeship, if you want to look at it, from across the board, in which our seniors are looked at as leaders in the community and pouring to our younger kids and learning from their mistakes and carrying the baton forward. I think so many times in our community, we have people who go out and be successful and don't hand the baton to someone else and train them so they can keep it going. I think we start this cycle of one person pulling himself by the bootstraps and being successful and not teaching someone else how to pick up from where they left off and continue the mission, but making that other person kind of start from scratch and pull themselves from the bootstraps. So I think if we start pouring back into our community, it would help a lot.
Well said. We're going to leave it right there, gentlemen. Like we always do it this time. We're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to talk about our governor down here in the great state of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis, who's also, guys, he's actually going to be a presidential candidate in the next presidential election. So So what they got going on down there in Florida is he done passed a bill called the HB7, better known to some as the Stop Woke Act. So for some who don't know what that is, what it does, it prohibits workplace training, school instructions, and teachers that individuals are inherently racist, sexist, and oppressive. Whether consciously or unconsciously, the people are privileged or oppressed based on race, gender, or national origin. Or that a person bears a personal responsibility for or must feel guilty, astonished, or other forms of psychological distress over actions committed in the past by members of the same race, gender, or national origin. The law says such training or lessons amount to discrimination, and this is according to the Times Magazine. Wow, that was a mouthful. So to kind of break that down, pretty much they saying that whites feel, that Caucasians feel threatened or feel upset or have some issues about what their ancestors has done, even flowing over to the workplace. But what really caught my attention is he's actually using that law to being back to a college African American Studies course that hasn't been in making since 2014. And what it covers is our history, American history, not just African history. Because African American history is, ladies and gentlemen, American history. 4 years of slavery, 4 years of African American history, touching on lights like the literature, political science, geographics. It would tell the story of blacks and how they and what happened to them. So, to start the conversation off, I'm gonna start with our youngster Q. What do you think about them not teaching? Now, you in college not teaching the African American Studies course because it felt like it will offend the other race.
Suck it up. I've had to learn about all types of history for 25 years. You can't do it for a optional course. Now, suck it up. Ron says he's doing a lot down there. I just seen that he may be trying to, as far as not having girls and boys playing in opposite gendered sports, which that's stupid in itself, because who cares? Trying to figure out a way to track girls' menstrual cycles in high school in a high school level. I don't know who. Well, I know why he got elected, because it's Florida. He's an idiot. I have no words to say. What the more I look at it, the more I'm like, y'all elected him, and then I remember it's Florida. And that actually makes me more disappointed, because I would think even Florida would know better than that.
Gee, I'm gonna go with you on this one. I'm gonna do it in the workplace. Because you work in a very professional office business setting. How do that plays out in the workplace? How do this law or this act plays out in the workplace?
So before I jump into that, I want to kind of jump into what Q just said, because as I was preparing for this segment of the show, a couple of things stood out to me that I think is very interesting. So let me just read some of the quotes from the governor. He says, "We're not going to use your tax dollars to teach our kids to hate this country or to hate each other." So while you're letting that marinate, I'm gonna read one other thing. So when they talked about the African American Studies, they said that it was teaching queer theory. So that was part of the reason why they was rejecting the African American Studies.
Okay.
And no. So let me show you how because he's not an idiot. He's very smart. He's very smart. We have a lot of people in our community who are homophobic.
Correct.
So if you tell them this man is going after the LB, he's standing up to the LBTG, whatever. He's standing up to that group. A lot of people will ignore the fact that he's also going against African American studies and just focus on the one piece because they hate that other group just as much. So it's still all hate, which is amazing when you hear stuff like that. But I will say, going back to the question that you just asked me about, in the workplace, there was a reason why the training had to start in the first place. Because there were a number of issues that were occurring in which people needed that type of sensitivity training to begin with. And so those core issues, if those core issues are never addressed, you're just going to go right back to that kind of behavior. Now, because I've been in corporate America for, X amount of years, every year I have to take that training and it becomes redundant to me. But for someone who is not, who hasn't gone through that training before or doesn't have sensitivities to those other areas, you don't know how your normal talk around your boys may be one way, but when you go into an environment with someone else from a different background, how that can be offensive. Those type of trainings kind of help you understand and think about those things before you speak. You may think you're just having fun telling a regular joke, but you're really offending somebody, and in these times you can lose your job over that. So I think that what he's doing down there, I think, is very calculated. I think it's very scary because he's pushing the hate for other groups that people may jump on board and kind of hiding it behind some of these other things. And as far as the corporate America goes, I think the training is needed. It was established for a reason. And I think once you eliminate that, you're going to have just more issues.
RJ, I want you to take it from the school side and with the kids. What because we look at it, are they trying to, how do that affect the kids, one, and are they trying to erase that part of history? What are your thoughts?
Yes.
Well, I want to address one part before we go forward. One of the debates that I have with one of my partners is aspects of what they talk about with Black Lives Matter, and I didn't know this beforehand. Part of the agenda, if you look at their charter, it speaks to the acknowledgement of aspects of things that would engage the welcoming of homosexuality in some aspects of things, right? And so we know that in the past, Republicans have been very conservative and against that part of the platform. So basically, they're merging that into what they're saying in relationship to the whole part of Black Lives Matter. Like it's a deeper, larger concept, and that's another conversation. But I wanted to put that out there. That's something to really take a look at. Now, repeat the question real quick, Hank, so I can make sure. Oh, you said the school segment. The school segment, in all true honesty, man, they don't want the truth to be taught in schools because it really brings it creates a lot of debate. If you've ever been in a predominantly white college and you've been in that type of setting and you've had those kind of conversations, there are some interesting conversations that come up and come out when you have divergent views. And I think what he's trying to do is limit the ability for the truth to come out. And one of the things that has happened in the Republican politics recently over the last maybe about 5 to 10 years, especially with Trump, facts are not facts anymore. So if I can identify effectively a way to invalidate those facts or misappropriate them, remove them, then I have controlled the narrative. And that's why people used to always say, history is written by the victors. So it's his story again, in a larger sense.
Okay. We gonna leave it there. I think we done jumped on brother DeSantis enough. But I do want to leave this
Gary
with.
wanted to say something. It sounded like he wanted to say something.
What's that? I can't hear.
Gary said he wanted to say something.
Okay, go ahead, Gary. I didn't hear you, sir.
You gotta unmute, Gary. You gotta unmute.
Sorry about that. I just want to add to a little bit of what Ron was saying. As I was doing some research for the segment, one of the things that they were talking about in the, especially with the African American studies, is they were talking about the police, reparations, and things of that nature, which are all things that kind of go against his party. So the more that you educate these soon-to-be voters about, or voters about, you know, how the prison system has been used, and then they go out and try to create more prison systems, or if you try to if you don't believe in reparations and you look at the story of the true story of Black history, it makes you sympathetic to it and maybe even vote a certain way. So I think this also has a political agenda associated to all the things that he's doing with the critical race theory, as well as what he's doing with the African American studies. That's all I wanted to say, because there's a huge political aspect that I think people are overlooking and just kind of looking at it as purely maybe just a race thing, but I think it is more of a political thing as well.
I totally agree with you. I do think there is a political component to this, by trying to sway voters by knocking just like you said. If we don't teach it, now I can indoctrinate you with what I want to teach you versus you knowing the truth. So, but hey, family, one thing I will say, man. Like the old state when we was growing up, if you want to hide something from us, where they put it in the book. So I say that to say this. Take time to study with the children. Teach your children their history. Don't rely on the school system. Don't rely on other entities to teach your child. Let's slow down and teach our children our history. Teach our children that where we come from. Teach them the truth. And you know, the truth shall always set you free. That was what we was told. All right, guys. Hey, another great show. Thank you again for stopping in with us and listening to us. Like I said, you can also reach us on Spotify. You also can reach us on YouTube. So they'll look for the upload at the beginning of the week. And like always, guys, you make your next move be your game changer. Good night.